So we'll end it on this note. We are parked facing out in a charging station.
Just look at the variety of EVs.
That's what I was going to say.
You know?
So there's probably 40, 50 chargers. There's a Mercedes,
EQB,
a Tesla, a Geely, a Volkswagen, a Zeekr, a Denza, BYD, NIO, a Leap Motor, and the BYD.
There's a Lotus Electre.
You're not a lease, Electre.
Probably a L6.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just named the diversity and how many repeats. There's 2 BYDs out of the group. There's one foreign car, or there's 2 foreign cars, 3 foreign cars. So if you're not an alternate energy or clean energy major vehicle maker in China, you're just not going to win. It's not going to be good for you. Hi everyone, and welcome to a special edition of China EVs More. I'm sorry I'm not looking at the camera because I am supervising level 2+.
You can for a moment.
For the Li Auto i6 that we borrowed and are driving from Beijing to Shanghai last night. We spent the night in Huai'an, which is about 5.5 hours from Shanghai. We just topped off a little bit at a slow charger. And about 70 kilometers from now, we'll be hitting a Li Auto fast charger, hopefully, filling up for the rest of the trip into Shanghai, hopefully late afternoon. My name is Tu Li. I'm the managing director at Sino Auto Insights, a global management consultancy that helps organizations innovative and tech-focused products and services, transportation and mobility space. And my partner in crime and my co-pilot at this moment is Lei Xing. Lei, can you please introduce yourself, buddy?
Welcome to a very, very special movie. NOA, VLA, and a Li Auto i6 going over from Beijing to Shanghai episode.
and this is very different from some of the other episodes last year. We've done this 2 years in a row. This is the 3rd year. The other intelligent driving systems, we've had to have a hand on the wheel in order for the service to continue or the feature to continue. This one, they're just looking at our faces, our eyes, and I think our heads to make sure that we're paying attention and focused. So as you can see, my hands are here, but I'm still focused on the highway.
Yeah, this is a hands-free system, Li Auto's VLA. It's called the VLA Driver Model, and we just actually had a update this morning, where it was updated from 8.3.0 to 8.4.0. So actually a significant update, basically optimizing the highway driving conditions and also some of the smart cockpit. So yes, this is Lei Xing, your co-host for the chief editor of China Auto Review, and this is a special episode. I think the number is 246, because I remember
we skipped a couple weeks.
Yeah, we did 245 the last time, but both of us were still in the U.S. Now we're just in a moving smart EV
on the G3?
On the G2. This is currently the G2. We stayed last night at this 3rd-tier city called Huai'an in northern Jiangsu province. So we're about just slightly less than 400 kilometers from Shanghai. And this Huai'an is a 3rd-tier city, random city we picked. It's actually the home of former Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai. Nice hotel, $50 with breakfast, largely king bed. Now we're just hitting the rest of the trip to Shanghai, and we can talk about this. We can talk about the Beijing Auto Show. So much to cover.
Yeah. So first things first, you and I both arrived last week on Monday.
A week ago. First.
Oh no, I arrived on Tuesday. On Tuesday.
Yep.
So we both arrived on Tuesday.
Yep.
And I flew from Detroit to Shanghai. Took about a 4-hour layover in Pudong and went straight down to Guangzhou, where I met you, Steve Levine, quite a number of other people that were visiting XPeng at its new headquarters in Guangzhou.
So basically this year the trip started out with special program from XPeng, which invited a bunch of global media for something called AI in Motion, physical AI immersive tour, where we visited the EV factory. We visited the headquarters. We had lunch at one of the cafeterias in the plant.
The canteen, basically.
Canteen, yeah. We visited the Ridge, which is their flying car plant, and we saw a demo of the land aircraft carrier, at least the flying portion of it. And then once we got back to Beijing, ahead of the Shanghai, Beijing Auto Show, we experienced the XPeng VLA 2.0, which
Brand new.
Yeah.
Hot off the presses VLA 2.0
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, on their new P7s. They organized, test drives.
Also, 6.
Yeah. Well, there's the blue bullet train going by.
Oh, yeah. One thing that we've seen along the last highway and this G2 highway, plenty of Xiaomi cars being delivered south to South China.
Yeah. So one of the things, during this type of trip, this is our third straight year, is not only to experience the kind of the feel of the vehicle, the vibe of the ride handling, the charging experience, the cockpit, the autonomous driving, assisted driving features. But when you travel these roads, you kind of see, it tells you
in charging.
it tells you about the EV market, because we saw 4 or 5 transporters of Xiaomi EVs, which means they must be doing well in terms of sales.
I'll take it a step further. We'll go back to the Xiaomi, but I'll take it a step further. We just left the charging station, slow charge, almost like a trip. We are so spoiled because it was pulling 80, 90, 120. That's to us considered slow in China. And if you want to understand the EV sector, go to a charging station on a highway in China. We saw Aitos, we saw Xiaomi's, we saw, what else do we see? We saw the Cherries, we saw some Teslas. There was so many different brands that were in this charging. There was actually a queue, and we're on a random Thursday, right? No, Wednesday.
Wednesday. Now, important to know, this is a couple of days before the May holidays. China has this holiday coming up, 5-day break, which those holiday days, when you drive on expressways, tolls are free. So we can expect people lining up to charge the EVs. Okay, and we have some options. We have the auto, obviously. We have the Neo battery swap option for those that do have Neos or Ambos. We started yesterday afternoon in Beijing, and the first one, first charging stop, we charged at the V Auto branded charging station with one stall that's gold. It's gold-plated stall, which is only available for the V Auto BEVs. So the Mega, the i8, and the i6. And it was pulling, 420. And we had it charged. We went to the restroom, bought some food, had a quick meal, came back. It was over 91%.
No, got your tea.
Yeah, I got my tea.
And you saw that it was at 91%, so you actually turned it off.
Yeah, so I turned it off. I didn't want it to charge to 100%.
So I was in the cafeteria buying food, thinking, okay, we have some time to relax a little bit and eat. And then you came back in with your tea glass, and you were like, it's done. And I hadn't even opened my food up, my liang mian. And so we were rushed eating.
I know.
So we could get back on the road, which is kind of the irony of driving electric vehicles to China right now for certain types of vehicles.
Especially, we can, kind of touch upon some of the themes of the Beijing Auto Show, and charging is definitely one, because BYD had a exhibit at their BYD hall, a standalone flash charging stand where they had 2 kind of what do you call them?
The charging station?
No, the inside, it's like a chamber.
Oh, yeah.
Cold chamber where there were 2 EVs with ice all over it. The temperatures in those chambers.
So it was like a booth within a booth. With cars inside the booth.
Yeah.
But the booths were sub-zero booths to show you that
demo.
they could charge quickly in sub-zero temperatures. So the person inside was wearing winter clothes in this booth.
Yep. Down jackets and the gloves. And they were showing, the flash charging at minus 32, 33 degrees from 10% to 97% in less than 12 minutes. I actually was at one of those demos and I shot some videos. And incredible. And just to make it fun, they could have you wear a glove on your hand and kind of feel the temperature inside. Just to prove another way is they have this bottle of hot water and they just pour it inside the chamber and it became like all steam and ice. Yeah.
So hold on. I know we're talking about BYD at the show, but let's take this 50,000 foot level and then go deeper.
Sure.
So the show was in Beijing this year, so hence we're going from Beijing to Shanghai. Normally the Shanghai show is bigger than the Beijing show.
Yep.
This time they built another convention center next to the existing convention center. And this year, Beijing by far is the largest auto show, I can confidently say, in the world this year.
The largest auto show on the planet.
Over some numbers.
Ever. So let me give you some of the big numbers that I remember these very clear. 51 vehicles on display.
What? 380,000 square feet.
Yep.
Or square meters.
Let's get to the halls. There's total of 17 halls, 13 of which are dedicated to the OEM brands, okay? The other 4 ones are suppliers.
2 of which were each dedicated to an individual OEM. BYD had its own hall. Chery.
So 1,451 vehicles on display, 181 global China premieres, 71 concepts, 219 press conferences in the first 2 press days, 30,000 plus reporters, including over 4,000 from overseas.
Of which I know many of.
Right. That's one of the big features of this year is we saw a lot of foreign faces. Not only the industry people, but the, YouTubers, KOLs. And a lot of these, guess what, are invited by companies like XPeng, companies like Xiaomi, NIO, Great Wall Motor, Chery, and they organized programs for these global media, expanding days. I think Xiaomi went even for almost a week.
Yeah, so Xiaomi, Chery invited people down to their factory. Xiaomi had a track day, and so and what's different this year from years past is that media days, especially the first media day, is when they would do the unveils. Most major automakers would do unveils as their press conferences, like 20-minute windows. This year, Geely had an event before press days. XPeng had a big press event. And who else? CATL had a press event before media days.
I always say this has happened since even before the pandemic, right? So I always say half of the auto show in China is over before it even begins because a lot of these brands, they organize either brand days, product launches, pre-sales, reveals, tech talks, BMW, Mercedes, CATL, you name it, right? Far in advance of before the show even begins, and then it's just madness on the first press.
And Lei, I'm not a big FOMO guy, but yeah, I was definitely kind of conflicted because we had committed to going to the XPeng event, so we missed the CATL event. We missed a couple of the other. I missed the Cadillac event, which I do have some friends that work at Cadillac, and so was disappointed I wasn't able to attend some of these other events.
We were tied up with the XPeng, so thank you, XPeng.
Yes, yes. And Sarah, thank you for hospitality. I know there's behind the scenes stuff that I had to deal with, so my schedule was a little bit jumbled. So Sarah, thank you. But anyways,
and this guy, he lost his China phone, so he was without WeChat for like a few days. So I had to relay his message to other people.
And then every time I go to the show and I see somebody, they're like, dude, I texted you, I WeChatted you. Like,
and then we had this escapade at the China mobile store. Took an hour and figured it.
And nothing happened except I got a new phone. Yeah, a new phone number.
So these are all part of the experience when you come to China, which you don't have the perspective. You don't unless you're here, right? And you appreciate luxury, staying at the whole hotel last night. It's right. You don't have that in the US.
For $50, it's basically a 4 or 5 star hotel, and we bought breakfast. Breakfast was like $15 or something like that, $7-8.
No, I mean $50 a night including breakfast.
Right.
Okay, and those breakfasts is not like just any one kind of breakfast.
So if you
Buffet.
think about it, if I buy coffee at Starbucks in China, a grande latte will be about $5 or $6. So to stay in a hotel and pay $8-9 for breakfast makes a lot more sense because it's all you can drink coffee, right? I drank about 5 cups right this morning, so I'm a little bit wired.
Yeah, and speaking of thanking, we should also thank Wendy and her team at Li Auto for providing the i6, which is currently in VLA, the NOA mode, which allows us to record this without having to. Well, we gotta pay attention, but the car is right. The car is on this the level 2++ mode highway NOA, which we've used yesterday. Pretty much 99 to 75. We put it on NOA and we just let it do its job.
Through 1 a.m. We didn't hit the hotel until 1 a.m.
We left Beijing at 3 p.m. and we got to the hotel in Huai'an at 1 a.m.
And
so good 10 hours.
800 kilometers?
850 kilometers, and we have 400 to go. Also probably full disclosure, we're not getting paid by anybody to do this. We make it a point to be in China for an extended period of time to understand the vehicles, the EVs, the whole process. And
honestly, these companies are kind enough to let us borrow these cars.
Yep.
And
we aren't
obligated. We are not obligated to say anything. It's just that
I'll
specifically have had relationships with these companies since almost day one.
I think we even want to critique and give feedback to these companies.
Oh,
and
we do.
They will love to hear it. I'll say one bug right now. This highway NOA is several occurrences when it was trying to exit into the service area. It's doing it very late, and so at the very last minute, it makes this jerky.
It almost swerves.
So Li Auto, please optimize this to make it feel better. But other than that, it's it rides like a magic carpet. The ride, the handling, the comfort,
and it makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because
also,
other systems that I've ridden, level 2+ systems,
also,
there is still an anxiety about it because you're not that confident in its capabilities yet. And the Chinese systems, and remember, Chinese roads are much more difficult and challenging than European and Americanly speaking. We are currently going about 120 kilometers or 115 kilometers, so a little over 60 miles an hour. And, the highway doesn't have a lot of traffic right now, so this is pretty simple stuff for the level 2 system to work. But we've also taken it through the cities, and it's done really, really well.
I have to talk about me being a consumer because I recently got a Model Y with FST. So this trip, for me coming back, I have a critique state of mind. I bring a lot of skepticism of all the
you quickly become a true believer in FSD.
FSD, I think, is the crown jewel, right, of level 2++, and all the companies in China, they're benchmarking against FSD, whether it's Li Auto and NIO, XPeng, Xiaomi, and Huawei. So I have a frame of reference of how these systems work compared to FSD, and I'd say both. It's a nice portion. I say there's still some gaps, but in certain instances, the systems in China work very well. Okay, so it's hard to have an apples to apples comparison, but I mean the highway NOA is it's pretty mature. It's even doing better than when we had the XPeng G9 2 years ago, which already had the highway NOA.
Yeah, which you would expect, because the 2 years, I would think the system would be
talking about that because this is actually one of the other themes at this year's Beijing Auto Show is wider application of VLA, of these world model, and all of these companies, all of these smart EV startups, and these ADAS and robotaxi companies, WeRide being a prime example, offering their WRD 3.0 on this GAC Ion N60 that was just launched yesterday. And I talked to Tony Han, their founder.
Another set of Xiaomi's.
Yep, right here. How we can see from the video back here. Yep.
李想同学
And
主驾你好，
so two just asked the voice through voice recognition, ask the auto to turn on the seat massage.
Hold on a second. 李想同学
中午好，
How long will it take to get to Shanghai?
282公里，是要添加这里吗 ？Sure, it's about 282 kilometers to Shanghai. Do you want me to set a destination
We
there?
have an extra guest today
不用
on our show.
谢谢
It's classmate Li Xiang.
你好像抢了我的台词啊！
Okay, bye bye. 取消吧. So I'm saying that
Toyota just
Yeah.
got in front of us and it's going very, very slow.
I was saying,
The
yeah.
system handled it
Yeah.
flawlessly. You'll be able to see it in the video.
I was speaking to Tony Han, the founder of WeRide, and asked him about this WRD system on his vehicle. And I said, how does it compare to FSD? Because I have SD. And he's like, well, I have FSD. When I go to the US, I drive FSD. And it's
差不多吧。
差不多. He told me it's 差不多, which means it's very close. It's almost like FSD. So hopefully, maybe I'll get a chance to experience that because I'm staying a little bit longer with this. And I've experienced VLA. We're now experiencing VLA's NOA, and we can be critique. We can offer our thoughts, right, of how they're doing compared to FSD. And it is a feature that's being pushed very much across all brands in order to sell, especially XPeng. Yeah.
There are so many different themes going on at the show, but let me give you my top 2 or 3 bullet points at the highest levels, kind of my observations. And with the backdrop of Trump coming in about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe, and Canada having just eliminated tariffs. And so that is playing a part, even if people aren't talking about it at the show. So the things that I saw, a bit of maturity from all of the Chinese EV makers. 2 or 3 years ago, you see all these disparate products that don't have consistent branding from a design standpoint, feel standpoint. Now you see, you go to the Zeekr booth, you go to the BYD booth, it just looks like more mature. They kind of understand how brand portfolios should be. And BYD, which again we mentioned earlier, had a hall in and of itself or by itself, had Denza booth, had a Yanghua booth, had a Fangchao booth. So they understood that we're just going to highlight and not share the spotlight with anybody. And this is on the heels of Stella Lee doing the circuit with Bloomberg, with CNN, to talk about how their charging infrastructure is the difference maker for BYD. Okay? And so I saw maturity in the brands in China.
Here's the thing. We do these trips and then we compare what these companies say they've done. So what we did is actually try to find if we could charge at one of these megawatt charging stations. And I'll be honest, there's not that many along the way that's closer to where we are on a highway.
Although they've said they've installed 5,000 of them.
Right. So this is the grain of salt that we take. There's marketing jargon, there's right, but until we experience, we go through these trips. You don't.
This morning we had programmed a 5C or a 4C charging station. So we went to it and they weren't.
It wasn't ready. It was there, but it was still covered. The charger was still covered in maps.
So the maps.
So they weren't online.
Maps acknowledge them, but they're just not online yet.
Yeah. So that's one of the intricacies and the caveats of seeing what's on the app versus actual what's available on the road. And you understand, okay,
But an important distinction is that in Europe and the United States, it's binary. There are no charges. There are not enough chargers. Here, we're complaining about 120 kilowatt chargers versus 450 or 460 kilowatt chargers. So we're a little bit spoiled just in the last couple of days, but it's no wonder that China's adoption rate is much higher because the charging infrastructure supports it.
Yeah, I mean, so, when we set off in Beijing, we had this whole the auto charging station to us all by ourselves. And just now we had, all kinds of EVs. And
there's a queue,
right? There was a queue, right? And then going back to the show about this kind of a booth, I wanted to, touch upon some of my favorite booths. Because I walked quite a bit. I really liked how HEMA, the Huawei Harmony Intelligent Mobility Alliance, had their booth. They had this kind of sphere, all 5 of their brands. Now Huawei has expanded into something called a 5+3. So the 5, Ito, Luxi, Slalato, Maestro, and Changjie. That's the GS. The Yijing, Huajing, and Qijing, respectively, Epicman, Huajing, and Isoland.
It's a lot.
Huawei had a huge presence, not only of these brands, but also their tech brands. So, for example, the Huawei Drive One powertrain brand, they had a separate booth. The Huawei Tianfeng ADAS, they had a booth. Right?
Let's just turn on.
I don't know.
So the thing that I took from a Huawei presence is that they want to dominate up and down. It is like their whole was just everything.
It showed. I mean, it's definitely Huawei inside. Not only of these Chinese state-owned companies working with them, but all the A6L e-trons now got Huawei, smart OS or the cockpit. Even some of the ADAS. The Freelander, by the way, that was at the Huawei Tianfeng booth, which is actually the first model going to be deployed with Huawei ADS 5.0.
And what's important about the Tianfeng booth, Lei, is that there were multiple brands. Mercedes was at the Tianfeng.
Yep.
It was a Huawei booth
Yep.
with multiple foreign brands being showcased at that booth.
And that's the big theme has been, not at this year's Beijing Auto Show, but over the last 3 years, since that shock in Shanghai 3 years ago, is in China for China. In China for China. It's beaten to death by these foreign automakers.
Okay, Huawei booth was impressive.
I really like Momentum. Not the booth, but the press conference where they had their 4 founders talk about the history of AI and what's physical AI, what they think it is, and how that brings into what they have done. They're in the process of IPOing, and it feels like every single EV launch, Chinese or foreign, has Momentum ADAS inside.
To our American
one number,
to our American viewers, just make sure to understand, one of the beneficiaries of Momentum's IPO,
GM, Mercedes, they're all early investors.
So GM's going to benefit from Momentum IPO.
Yeah, no, one number they reviewed was at the last Shanghai Auto Show last year, they had 300,000 vehicles with their system. By this year's Beijing Auto Show, that number has ballooned to 800,000. That gives you a sense of how now popular their systems are. And at the center of their booth, I thought this was a very jarring image that says 1,000 more. There's an electric GLC long wheelbase with the Momentum logo in the back and the signage that says all the global brands now have Momentum. Something to that effect, which I thought
was in Chinese.
Yeah, which I thought was the one of the photos of this year's Beijing Auto Show. Horizon Robotics, I really like their booth because it's kind of funny they use this.
Let's take a step back. Horizon Robotics is still a design company that Volkswagen has formally partnered with to work on its AI and intelligent driving stack.
Yep. And one of their Volkswagen's new vehicles, ID Unix 08, is actually the first one that uses China electronic architecture developed jointly with XPeng and the Horizon joint venture with Carriot and Horizon Robotics to support that vehicle's internal organs, let's say, right, or the brains. And that model is developed with, I think, from Volkswagen.
Now that we're talking about that, Lei, one of the things that I did not see at all during my time in Beijing, NVIDIA logo, NVIDIA presence. So in China, at least, NVIDIA's not needed for driving,
but
perhaps.
Well, I mean, I did see quite a few, let's say, these tech companies. They did have the kind of the NVIDIA, or NVIDIA partner, because they do use the Thor U and the main controllers, the chips. Right, that's still needed.
They're SoCs.
The SoCs. The other favorite booth, and actually booth within the booth, is Geely's EVA purpose-built robotaxi concept, which had a humanoid robot beside it that could talk to you in both Chinese and English. And you can ask him any questions you want, Chinese, English, and it'll spits out, answers and talk about. You can ask him about the EVA cab. I really like the design of that concept. It's really, I think Geely over the years, it's a great leap in terms of their design field. Whereas, I'm going to criticize BYD a little bit, because BYD, they're going premium, but I think their design and styling in the interior, it still has some kinks to be worked out. It's not like this type of premium feel. It's got that.
So Li Auto's very clean.
Yeah, clean. BYD is a little bit over the top, overkill. Yeah.
The closest premium that I see for like traditional premium that you and I would define as this premium is Seeker and Neo.
Yeah, Neo was right across from XPeng, and they both had this long, I'd say over 100-meter long, like upstairs, right, and the downstairs there's that kind of the Neo house, and where you can have coffee and meetings. And the first time Neo has one single stand with all of the three brands. Funny thing is, I was at the XPeng interview with Brian and while the interview was going on, Li Bian was right across the booth doing his press conference, so we couldn't hear. We could hear, but it was lower. So I was telling Sarah, next time you gotta bring up your mic at the speaker game. But this is one of those things, right? That it's difficult to so many things going on at the same time. How do you? Yep, this just says it's preparing the battery for charging, because we're about 12 kilometers away from a Li Auto supercharging station at one of these west areas.
One thing that also sticks out, and this is kind of the side for the auto show, is that Li Bian has been live streaming. They had an event last night for the Lei Xing live streams. They actively sell their own cars on social media, and these guys are billionaires. They don't look to do that. But they're out there promoting their brands. Like, they're working overtime. They're blind. Did you see Jim Farley? Did you see Amerigara getting on social media saying, hey, buy a Cadillac, buy a Cadillac. Look at what this thing can do. And honestly, they're not coming off as used car salesmen. It seems like they just believe. Lei Xing is a little bit salesman-y, but that's just a difference. Yeah,
it's just a cultural aspect of the China EV, smart EV industry, because the commotion this year, remember 2 years ago when Xiaomi launched the Suite 7, that entire hall where Xiaomi's booth was packed
all the time.
Jidu was right across from Xiaomi. They were actually happy because of all the smiles coming. But this year it was less of that commotion because Xiaomi is now already mature. They've already launched 2 products, and one product already has refreshed. And Lei Xing was still walking over, visiting these CEOs, He Xiaopeng, Li Bian, Wang
He
Chuan,
gave them T-shirts.
and gave them T-shirts with slogans that these CEOs have said that went viral. So one of them is 一起家电, which is what Li Bian always says, means to let's work together and 加油. And then these things, sometimes they take over the show, and just the way the CEOs, they market themselves, their brands.
Then it should be noted that Xiaomi did unveil a concept, a grand vision.
The Vision
Yeah.
Grand Restaurant, which was awesome. I think one of my favorites as well.
Yes.
Just clean, right? And now they have a big team in Munich already there for the launch in 27. So mark our words, they will impact the European market like never before.
No one else.
Yeah. But because the leverage they have is many of these European customers, they probably already have a Xiaomi product at home. So that brand is
Or
there.
familiar with the brand.
Yeah, familiar with the brand. It's just, yeah. I think what I did was, walking the show, you see these live streamers, right? You kind of see what they're doing. You sit inside the vehicles and you listen to these Chinese consumers, how they're critiquing the features, the fit and finish, the design and styling. You get an understanding of what they want, right?
But they're spoiled. They have so many choices. And so they can be picky. They can be very, very particular. And if at that very moment they're looking for a new car, you don't have what they need, they won't buy your product. They won't have to settle. There are a number of products out there that check every single box and still don't get purchased.
Here's the thing, right? Honda launched the L80 at 159,800 base mode. Now the L80 is a direct competitor of this car.
Yes.
This car has a 250,000,
Which is about $35,000. So it has a 5C charging for $35,000.
Yeah, so I think the way segmentation works in China is completely out of whack. And then the big SUVs, right? We talked this.
So that was the
biggest
big theme.
Probably the biggest thing.
There's 9 or 10. And when you're talking to two Americans here, so when we talk large SUVs, we're talking the largest. We're not talking Range Rover. We're talking Tahoe. We're talking Expedition. We're talking suburban size. So.
And you have everything, let's say, from a Leap Motor D19 large SUV that starts at $219,800, which is $30,000, all the way up to Vistique, the Cadillac Vistique, which is over $500,000 RMB. Everything in between, there's the Zeekr 8X, 9X, there's a Wave D9X, M9, the
GX, Zeekr 9X,
Neo ES9, the XPeng GX. I'll say this, my favorite vehicle among all the foreign brands, and probably the hottest commodity, is the ID Era 9X. Because I was at the Volkswagen booth 2 days ago, they had the ID Era 9X, they had the Unix 08, they had the ID Aura T6. All the crowds were
because they were curious
around the 9X, the Era 9X. And this ID Era 9X has a RoboSense LiDAR. And then we know a lot of, their friends of RoboSense are friends of the show. Within 1 hour of launch, this vehicle got over 11,000 front
orders. The car is getting over right now because it's supposed to get off in about 1.5 kilometers or 1.8 kilometers. So that's why you're hearing the noises.
Every single brand, Chinese or foreign, has some kind of a large SUV at the booth. And the naming is even confusing. There's a 9X, there's a X9, there's a V9X, there's
8X,
V9, there's 8X.
M9, because they want a larger size to match the ES9, they're making an M9L.
So
unveiled that.
We're about to get off the highway to charge at this Auto supercharging station with 5C. So we may still able to talk a little bit more, but while it's charging, so it'll be pretty cool. But over the last 47 minutes or so that has been recording, the car has been on NOA. We It's on
It's
this level
taking
2 plus
itself
plus.
off the
Yeah.
highway as well.
So we'll most
But I'm
likely,
supervising, obviously.
yeah. So we'll most likely
safe.
take over once it gets to this Li Auto 5C charging station.
右转，随后立即左。
Because I can't really read checking so.
So once we top up here, we should be able to get to Shanghai without need to charge it anymore.
Where's this? Now it's confused.
Oh, it's here. Yeah.
智能驾驶。
Yeah, I just turned off. So now I see the Li Auto sign.
左转。
There's one car.
到达充电。
And you'll see the 5C charger that's gold plated.
到达充电站。
5C right there.
Yeah, right here. This one right here.
Oh, I
it's
know.
only available for the BEV. So the Mega, the i8, and the i6, which we're driving right now.
So we're gonna get some really, really good fast
Yep.
charging here.
Yep. Yep.
So for those of you, I'm looking at the rear view camera. I'm not even.
This is our first ever episode where we're recording while the car is charging. We have some charging action.
Well,
First ever in our 250 episodes that we've done this. All right, so we just plugged in the Li Auto i6 into a 5C Li Auto branded charger, and currently it's pulling
about 300,
300 kilowatt.
which is disappointing because we had 420 yesterday. That's
Well,
how
it'll go
spoiled we
up.
are.
It should go up.
That's how spoiled we are. So right now we're at a 19. We're at a 30% state of charge, and it says it's going to take 15 minutes to get us to
To 100,
100% full charge.
which is pretty fast. Yeah, so maybe with the last few 15 minutes, we can wrap up the show. And,
sure. Well, we didn't even finish. We didn't even.
I mean, there's
really
so much to talk about.
So
really,
we'll have to do that.
Yeah,
We'll have to have a
No,
part 2 when we're back home.
I think. I mean, I think also
Right
what
next to us is a Lotus Elise.
Yep.
So
Oh, by the way, I just want to repeat this 5C charging is the smoothest, as close as you can get to Tesla supercharging. Plug it in, plug and
well, it's
charge.
faster than
Yeah.
Tesla supercharger.
So all I did was scan and plug the car and start charging. I don't
That's
have to
what
do anything.
terrific UX means.
Yes.
That's what terrific
Whereas
UX
yesterday, and this just now, the non-Li Auto branded, it took a little bit more time to scan, to pay pre.
Well, we have to
you know,
download
like,
apps. You have to,
We don't have to download apps.
I mean,
It's
sorry,
just
you
the
could go
WeChat.
through the WeChat, yeah.
But you have to put in, you have to prepay. Some of it you have to prepay like 50 MB, 100 MB. But this one, you just plug it in, scan and plug it in, and it starts charging.
And
Now it's already at over 40% from
uh,
what, 16%?
yeah. No, it was more than 16.
Okay.
A brief history lesson, though. Li Auto originally started as an e-rev company.
Mm-hmm.
They launched the Mega. There's a high-speed rail
Mm-hmm.
that's passing us by right now.
Mm-hmm.
They started with the Mega, which is this large MPV.
And this, I don't
minivan.
know. You can
So-
see that this is on the app. It's saying it's 1.1 MB per kilowatt hour.
So
And,
about 17 cents. They launched the i8, which is their first crossover. I wouldn't call it an SUV. I'd call it a crossover. The little brother of the i6 that we're in right now. So the 5C charging for Li Auto is still not widespread. You know, we were able to find one here. And as Lei mentioned, there's the gold ones, which are a lot different than the other ones.
Yeah, the gold
so-
one are actually the 5Cs for the BEVs.
And I've never seen a charger in the United States pull 350, let
Yeah,
alone 315, let alone 420 kilowatts.
We talked about BYD's flash charging. We talked about CATL, which announced their, take that BYD, kind of
Yes.
the updated Shenzhen, Qilin, Freeway, Nextra techs. I forget the it was what, 10% to 90% in 6 and some minutes?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And CATL,
Which is overkill.
they are a battery company, but they're trying to diversify. Number one, by offering a broader lineup of products. The sodium ion is called the Naxtra,
Mhm.
and they're really, really developing that for commercial vehicles and for lower price mass market vehicles. So look for sodium ion to be launched into like Southeast Asia, Latin America, where you want to stay with affordable vehicles, and sodium ion can do that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is the Freevoy, which is their fast charging LFP.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is
There's the Qilin condensed battery is the one that will allow you, supposedly, next time when that's available, you can drive from Beijing to Shanghai without stopping to charge.
So
in a sedan. Okay.
I'm getting confused. So the Qilin and then the Freevoy is the dual chemistry battery.
Yeah.
And so CATL is diversifying in two ways. They're going international. We went to a private event at the Manor Oriental.
Cool.
Thanks Dylan and the CATL team.
With the view of the city in the evening.
And the Forbidden City. Yeah. There was a fireside chat with, and they had 3 or 4 executives that spoke openly.
We should share the favorite answer of that evening. I asked the guy, you guys are doing this so fast, 10% to 90%, 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes. How much faster can you go? And his answer was, what is your requirement? that was like the best answer of this trip, and
honestly, this is the thing, right? Like, you and I are, again, I'll reiterate, we're nerds, so we love learning more. And, but you have to be here. That's how fast the market changes. And unfortunately, I just did not see many Americans here.
Well, they were the KOLs and the YouTubers.
Well, but I'm saying executives and stuff like that.
No, I mean, well, a surprise visit would be, I think actually one of the foreign companies that are doubling down is Hyundai.
Yeah.
They announced the Ioniq, official entry of the Ioniq brand. Jose Munoz is here. I met him.
They launched the new vehicle.
Yeah, the Ioniq V, which is already a production vehicle. It's like 99% production vehicle based on their Ioniq brand and a couple of concepts that were developed and led by their Chinese local team. So they're still doubling down, even though Hyundai
and Kia has struggled for several years, a decade.
I visited Li Auto's plant in Beijing that was previously a Beijing Hyundai plant that I visited before. Besides that, I think, we talk about the booths. Porsche, Ford, Mazda, even Cadillac, their booths were relatively small compared to the BYDs and the Cherries and the Great Walls.
And we were talking about this over breakfast, how times have changed because, just 10 years ago, pre-COVID, it was Volkswagen having these large booths. It was BMW having these enormous booths in China during the show, dominating the headlines, having... When you saw their press conferences, the CEOs having all this confidence about the China market and how they were going to continue to be leaders in the market. That's not happening. And that was just 5 or 6 years ago that the shoe has completely been put on the foot. But
the other theme is what I call this year the foreign empire striking back, right? The Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW with their all new China locally, with a lot of Chinese tech, local content inside the vehicle, in China for China vehicles launching.
That's the only way that's the only way they survive.
Well, they have a chance. If they don't do that,
they have no chance.
They have no chance. If they did this, they have a chance, but there's no guarantee for success.
So we'll end it on this note. We are parked facing out in a charging station.
Just look at the variety of EVs.
That's what I was going to say. So there's probably 40, 50 chargers. There's a Mercedes,
EQB,
a Tesla, a Geely, a Volkswagen, a Zeekr, a Denza, BYD, NIO, a Leap Motor, and another BYD.
There's a Lotus Electre.
Not a lease, Electre.
Probably a L6.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just named the diversity and how many repeats. There's 2 BYDs out of the group. There's 1 foreign car, or there's 2 foreign cars, 3 foreign cars. So if you're not an alternate energy or clean energy major vehicle maker in China, you're just not going to win. It's not going to be good for you. So, I still feel like we have so much to talk about. So maybe
I'll just end on saying we often are fans and we talk about the positive things. There are negative things. Some of the negative things I saw, which I did not like, is the speed of these products that are just coming out, new brands. you can kind of tell which one spent effort and which ones are kind of just there,
Trying to keep up.
And I really didn't like these new brands from Huawei, the Epic Land and the Isoland, because the way the styling of their vehicles, you look at them, Porsche, right? It's actually backward, I think, in a market where China is innovating and leading. So that's something I did not like. And just sometimes the speed of things that are happening or the evolution.
But the outcomes of that will be that I feel CATL and BYD will single-handedly bring clean energy vehicles to the mass market, international and emerging markets. It is just, they've done so much to speed up charging and to get back on the road. And as I say that, we are at 6 minutes, 84% state of charge, and it's still pulling 145 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
So,
and then the other thing that people may not realize is, I believe, the start of this year's Beijing Auto Show is actually the start of brand consolidation. I know we have many brands, but go just watch.
As you just mentioned, Huawei with Epic Land, with all these new brands, right?
Because Chang'an already announced they're integrating the Avatar and the Deepal. Geely at the Geely night, it was about one Geely. I think expect
and Geely
a contraction of this brand movement going
I was
forward.
really impressed with Geely because they did explain to us how each of the brands fits into the Geely Auto portfolio or Geely group. And so I didn't agree with how they had it laid out 100%, but it's just my opinion. Anyways, we're about to finish charging here and get our way to Shanghai. Hopefully this is going to be a very popular episode. We had a lot to say. We gave you a lot to think about. We will also circle back next week and talk about things that we weren't able to as a truck full of pigs.
I was about to say that. Yeah, it's just these funny things you experience on these road trips make you appreciate us being here.
Honestly, dude, and like, we still have dear friends here. I had a soiree in Phoenix Town that was super well attended. I cheated. A bunch of my friends came. They just happened to be covering the automotive space. And so it's a great event. In my opinion, I thought it was a huge success. We'll be doing it again next year. Anyways, everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm going to try to get this out by the weekend or next Monday at the latest. And then next Friday, hopefully we'll have a live episode in our normal time and place.
So. And now it's at 90%. So we're ready to go. Hit the road. Bye-bye.